All right. Happy season opener, everybody. We are now going to finish off my first ever NBA Power Rankings. We have 5 teams left. We are going to go 5 through 1. And just for the record, I'm recording this before Rockets Thunder tips off tonight and Lakers Warriors tips off later on after that. It was a long, arduous journey. The year has been up and down for me personally, but I'm glad basketball is back, especially to close out the new year because Lord knows we need it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the 5 remaining teams that will fill out the power rankings, the top 5 teams that I have going into the season. Number 5, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers are sort of, I wouldn't say in a holding period, but in terms of the metamorphosis of their team in this window with this core and how we evaluate this core, it's kind of been put on pause because of the injuries they suffered in the playoffs. Of course, Darius Garland had that toe injury, got surgery on it. Still going to miss, a couple of weeks to start the season. Evan Mobley sprained his ankle pretty badly, limited his lateral quickness, which is what makes him special on the defensive end. Donovan Mitchell was playing through a calf injury. Players were in and out the first 2 games of the Indiana series, including DeAndre Hunter, which was their trade deadline piece. So this year, I expect the Cavs, at least regular season-wise, not to go for 60 wins again. I don't think anybody expected the Cavs to win 60 games last year, but they obviously caught a heater, had all that confidence, and, went for it during the season, which I applaud. And unfortunately, some untimely injuries came in the playoffs. I think they're probably going to take a little step back just in terms of regular season wins just to get healthy, but they have added some players that I like. They lost Ty Jerome, Isaac Okoro leaves after, but you bring in Lonzo Ball, you bring in Thomas Bryant to kind of shore up, the backup big spot a little bit. And really, this is your team. And this is the main question for me with the Cavs going into this year. Is Evan Mobley going to be the clear-cut, undisputed, no arguments, best player on the team? Because I have said it before, and I'll say it again. If the Cavs want to win a championship, it goes through Evan Mobley. And I am looking for a big Evan Mobley year. Maybe not lead the team in usage because, you got to run the offense through your guards and all that stuff. But if you're just talking about when you're looking at teams that have, stars, superstars, and Garland's an awesome guard, Donovan Mitchell, superstar guard, the Cavs have a cheat code with Evan Mobley. This guy can dribble. This guy, even though he shot on low volume, improved his three-point shot, you could tell he improved his confidence too, driving on people, taking the ball coast to coast. There were bits and pieces, during the JB Bickerstaff era. I remember there were a few months where I made some videos on it where Evan Mobley was dabbling a little bit into the dribble handoff game, getting some two-man game going with Garland and Mitchell. But last year, obviously, had a lot of chemistry with Donovan Mitchell, took a little bit more responsibility offensively, and I'm looking for Evan Mobley to just take the reins because the Cavs are going to go as far as Evan Mobley takes him. He's the cheat code. He's the walking mismatch. Somebody that I could see taking advantage of somebody on a switch on the block, somebody that I could see taking a big out on the wing and driving by them, somebody that runs dribble handoffs like Kenny Atkinson had him doing, pick and rolls. You could just use him everywhere. And on top of that, he's already won Defensive Player of the Year, and he is one of the more versatile defensive pieces the game has. I'm looking for a playmaking leap. I'm looking for more of a scoring leap. And then everything else will fall into place. And the thing is, with the Darius Garland injury and the Max Strus injury, because I know he had a foot injury and is probably going to miss like a month to start the season, that just means there's more opportunity for Mobley to assert himself and to take control of this team. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, because if the Cavs fail to reach expectations this year, next season, not this season, but next season, they will, unfortunately, be in a zone where it's prove it, show me. I think this team absolutely has a chance to go to the finals. I think they're one of the 2 best teams in the East. Obviously, since they're number 5, you could probably imagine which team I have ahead of them as the best in the East. But regardless, I think the Cavs have the talent. I think Lonzo Ball was a nice pickup, even if, the injuries have kind of sapped his athleticism a little bit. I just like that type of skill set a little bit more than Ty Jerome's. Even though Ty Jerome was a microwave scorer, I just feel like Lonzo Ball provides more lineup versatility, can play with the best players on the team just because he doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's a nice connecting passer still, can still shoot, and can guard, and can get over a screen. So yeah, I love this Cavs team. I'm looking for Evan Mobley to really take that step forward as being the clear guy on the team. And if he does that, then it looks like I'll have to change my opinion on the Cavs as the season goes. And at number 4, the aforementioned New York Knicks. I really like this Knicks team, and I really like what they added on the back end of their rotation. And Tibbs did a good job, even though, they fired him. I think Mike Brown, in some ways, will be a slight upgrade over Tibbs. The Knicks were 12th in defensive rating last year. I think Mike Brown definitely improves that. It looks like they are going to go double big, starting Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. That's one way to improve your defense, is to have someone like Mitchell Robinson tag teaming with Karl Anthony Towns on the defensive glass so you can finish the defensive possession with a rebound. I believe the Knicks were 12th in opponent offensive rebounding percentage, according to Cleaning the Glass last year. So it looks like Josh Hart's going to the bench. We're going to have Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. That's an awesome starting 5 and should be an awesome, defensive unit, even though Brunson and Cat are clearly the weak links in that. But I like how deep their team is. I also wonder if Mike Brown, even though the Knicks were a top 5 offense, it was, a lot of Brunson, it was a lot of Cat, but it wasn't a lot of 2-man game between them. I believe the Knicks were 23rd in pick and roll frequency. Maybe Mike Brown sort of shifts some of where the offenses ran. Maybe they run more Brunson Cat pick and roll. Maybe they, have Bridges or OG take more responsibility on the ball, because somebody's going to have to be a secondary perimeter creator in this lineup. It can't just be Brunson and Cat, especially with Mitchell Robinson, probably going to be in the dunker spot a lot while Cat's spacing the floor. But then you look at the bench. Josh Hart, like I said, Deuce McBride, who still has never missed a shot against the Sixers. Unfortunately, they picked up Gershon Yabusele, who he's going to be an interesting one in this rotation, right? I feel like because the Knicks roster has a lot of good players around him, Gershon Yabusele will probably find a way to carve some minutes and not be hindered by the fact that he can't really guard 5s and he's too slow to guard the 4s. But he provides a unique skill set offensively. He's a good passer. He can run DHO stuff. And he could shoot, and he can attack a closeout. Also, sneaky athletic. I know he's big and he's the dancing bear and stuff, which is athleticism, by the way. He has really good balance, but can also surprise dunk on you. So maybe they use him in certain situations. He's a nice utility switch player, kind of like a curveball to throw out there. Landry Shamet can shoot. Jordan Clarkson, they got him, 6th man of the year type of scorer. They're a little thin big-wise and power forward. They're a little thin in terms of, the third center, the third big or whatever. But if you're just looking at this team, there's wings, there's double bigs, there's lineup versatility. There's that star guard that just scores on you, can facilitate. As of right now, I have a Cavs-Knicks Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people do. And I would be mildly surprised if they don't get to the finals this year. But one thing's for sure, this is the first Knicks season probably since I was like 5 or 6 years old, like the 90s, where the Knicks had the expectation of making the NBA Finals and winning the championship. And these are real expectations. I think this team has the potential to do it. Now, obviously, the teams ahead of them in this power ranking will say different, but this is really the first time since I was 5 or 6 years old that the Knicks had true championship expectations. Even in the Carmelo Anthony years, no one really expected the Knicks to go to the finals or win the championship. And that was mainly because the LeBron Heatles were there. But if you're just talking about preseason expectations and a team, by the way, that has the talent to do it, this is the true, well, last year, but they hadn't gone to the Eastern Conference Finals at that point. Now that they had a taste of it, now that they clearly sent the message, we think we can win a championship. That's why we fired Tom Thibodeau and brought in Mike Brown and made some, slight changes on the margins on the back end of the rotation. This is a true championship or bust type of season for the New York Knicks. And that's really fun. And we'll see how that plays out. Now we move on to number 3. And, just to pull the curtain back a little bit, I didn't do tiers this time, but while I was doing the power rankings, I did sort of draw lines through tiers. And this is where the second tier, I guess, ends. The second to the very top one. I have the Cavs, Knicks, and then the Rockets at number 3. The Houston Rockets made a big trade. They traded for Kevin Durant, who was still very good at the age of 37. Still Hall of Fame good, by the way, which is a big reason why I have the Rockets here at 3rd. The reason I don't have the Rockets in the tier with the 2 teams that you guys probably already can guess are ahead of them is, one, mainly because this is going to be the first year this group is together. Ime Udoka going into the season now, definitely experimenting with going super huge, especially in wake of the Fred VanVleet injury, which is also sort of a reason why I dialed them back a little bit, although I didn't have them in the true contender tier with the Nuggets and Thunder pre-VanVleet injury. But you just got to see how it works. But the talent is there, man. Like, Amen Thompson, I'm looking for another lead from him. Maybe not in scoring, but more so being in control of the offense, still being a dynamic defensive player. Maybe he takes a leap on the defensive end if that's even possible. But Alperen Şengün, his efficiency could jump up. Last season, it was very surprising how low his efficiency was in the 2-point range. It got better as the season went along, but Alperen Şengün, passing, scoring touch, really good defender. Ime Udoka made all these guys really effective defensively too. He's built together a really good team. And now you're going with a lineup of Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Steven Adams, and Alperen Şengün. That's going to be a physical-ass team. No one's going to be able to offensive rebound on this team. Actually, they're going to be the ones mauling the offensive glass, especially with Steven Adams' big ass in the starting lineup. And then you add guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, who kind of adds to that big wing mentality. You didn't get an extension done with Tari Eason, but he's still really fucking good if he could stay healthy. Clint Capella, another nice addition to kind of round out your ethos a little bit. And the wild card of it all, Reed Sheppard. What if Reed Sheppard just comes in and is good right away? And that maybe offsets some of what you're missing with the Fred VanVleet injury. What if he's just good right away? He looked good in preseason, man. And that preseason game he had against the Hawks, those were against the Hawks starters. What if he is just good already? Which could obviously rocket boost this team and its ceiling. Then you got some adults in the room like Jeff Green. It's been like 47 years, but I'm still holding out hope on, Josh Okogie being a decent-ish rotation player. But if you're just talking about the top 8, top 9, physical, all vibe with the coach's identity, they're just going to be a bitch to play against. And more importantly, Kevin Durant is just the answer to all the questions we had last season about Houston's half-court offense. Where was the half-court offense going to come from? Now, Fred VanVleet as a table-setting point guard, I think that part of his game gets underrated. The Rockets are going to miss that, but Kevin Durant can also play make. Kevin Durant at this stage in his career is still a really good defender off the ball and a good weak side rim protector. So, there's all these qualities he can bring to the Rockets that immediately gel well with their identity, while also bringing his just ridiculous all-time great scoring ability. When it gets late into the shot clock, just dump it to Durant on the block. Durant can shoot threes, space the floor. I'm looking forward to seeing Durant cut off the ball because he's going to be playing off of Alperen Şengün. Or maybe trailing in transition because Amin Thompson gets the rebound and just warps up the court. This Rockets team, you can make the argument they've had the second most effective rebuild of the 2020s. Just think about where they were at the start of the 2021-22 season or the 2022-23 season. Then you bring in Ime Udoka, draft Amin Thompson, change the culture. You have a summer where you bring in Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks, and everybody was mocking their free agency, where I at the time said these are actually good placeholder, good players to have while your young talent that you have been accumulating builds. And then when it's time to be a serious team, you can make a Kevin Durant trade. You see, 2024-25, that was the big step. They won 50 games. They showed that they're for real with an identity. And then you become a place where Kevin Durant wants to go to. And now they are at the final stage of this rebuild, where they have, over this window where they just extended Kevin Durant, can win the title. And I'm not going to get into legacy talk here or whatever, but if Kevin Durant is able to win a championship during his career with the Houston Rockets, I hope that for him, so we can finally just have a proper conversation about how great of a player he is and how actually ridiculous his resume is and would be if he was able to bring a championship to Houston as he finishes out his career. All right, now we're moving into the tier with the top two remaining teams. Number 2, I have the Denver Nuggets here. Now, I did a Nuggets video over the summer after they had the offseason they had, and the reason why I put their offseason very high is because they basically just retooled the roster and put players that fit around Nikola Jokic. Really, I think, outside of the 2023 title team, obviously, I think this is the deepest and most talented roster Jokic has had in his entire career. And I think this is the year the Nuggets finally win 60 games for the first time in the Jokic era. You replace Michael Porter Jr. with Cameron Johnson, who I think makes quicker decisions, is a better ball handler. Even if you want to make the argument that Porter is a better shooter than Cam Johnson is an elite shooter in his own right and is also a quick decision maker, once again, not just with attacking closeouts, but off the ball stuff. He can shoot off screens. He could shoot deep too. He's sort of a connective passer. I just like Cameron Johnson more as an offensive fit with Jokic than I did Michael Porter Jr., even though Michael Porter Jr. was awesome and sort of had to curtail his skill set a little bit to be a roving shooter, rebounder, all that stuff around Jokic. They recently extended Christian Braun to a 5-year, $125 million deal, which I actually think is a good deal for him. He has turned himself into a nice two-way player, an awesome transition player, somebody that can just get Jokic's hit-ahead passes and just bowl his way to the rim. And hopefully Aaron Gordon is healthy this time around and doesn't have as much defensive responsibility. Can Murray not start the season slow for once? And I think they also solved the Jokic off the court minutes, signing Jonas Valanciunas. And while Valanciunas isn't exactly a world beater defensively, he's big, he's a deterrent at the rim, but on offense, he's somebody you can dump the ball down to in the post, somebody that could set bone-crunching screens, somebody that could pass a little bit. I mean, the Nuggets have been running stuff through Valanciunas during the preseason, and then Bruce Brown's back. and I'm sure he's going to enjoy, at least better numbers playing off of Jokic. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be a little bit better playing off of Jokic too. He's just somebody else that could move off ball, shoot with confidence, shoot with no hesitation, and that should sort of free up more spacing for the Nuggets' best players. And then I'm looking for one of these other young guys, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, Jalen Pickett. Can one of those three guys pop? I've been waiting for Peyton Watson to pop for a few years now. He has defensive flashes, but offensively, it could be rough. Does he take a step forward there? Can Julian Strawther, one, be healthy, but two, prove that he could be the off-ball movement shooter that the Nuggets need? And then Jalen Pickett, sort of this interesting Andre Miller-ish post-up type of thing. Can he carve out a rotation spot? See, the thing with the Nuggets are I'm very confident in their top 8. I think they are more versatile. They could throw out different lineups. I think this is a team where Aaron Gordon won't have as much responsibility defensively as he once did. But I see no reason why they can't win 60 games, and I see no reason why the Thunder and the Nuggets aren't the Western Conference Finals matchup. The Nuggets, even though everybody and their mothers loves to bring this up, the Nuggets really had like 4.5 healthy players in that Thunder series, and that's being generous. Now I think this team has a little bit more depth. There's room for positive variability here with the young guys on the back end. Maybe one of them steps up. This is going to be an awesome Nuggets team, and they are absolutely a stone cold contender. Then at number 1, we have the defending NBA champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Rightfully so. They're the champs. They have the spot right now, and they are returning every single person that was on the roster from last year to this year. Now, there could be some snags, like Jalen Williams isn't exactly ready yet. J-Dub isn't ready yet with his wrist injury. But this team was young last year, young the year before, so who's to say they can't get better? Who's to say Chet Holmgren can't get better and takes on more offensive responsibility? Especially now that Jalen Williams is not going to be there to start the season. What's that going to look like? What's the chemistry between Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren in the double big lineup's going to look like? Because remember, both of them missed a chunk of time last year, which is wild considering that the Oklahoma City Thunder won 68 games last year. Lou Dort is still there, Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Kendrick Williams is still always going to be a nice little versatile tweener 3-4 type of guy that you could throw in every once in a while. Now, some of the young guys the younger guys that I was looking forward to seeing develop this year, like Topic, unfortunately, he won't be there to start the season. I was really looking forward to seeing Sorbet on the roster, but he had a season-ending injury. But they are still deep with the entire team that won the fucking title. And that's the thing, the Thunder won 68 games last year with injuries, and even though Jalen Williams is going to miss part of the start of the season with his injury, there's still room for improvement here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could get better. 3 straight years now of 35-5 for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, by the way, who at worst is a top 4 player in the NBA. And they still have their identity. They're still young, which means they can fly around on defense and could still keep intact their pretty historical defense from last year and carry it into this year. And they are the one team, when you look at the West, they are the one team that can defend the Nuggets really well. And a Western Conference matchup between those two will be very interesting. I really hope we get that. But this team is deep. This team could still maybe improve its shooting, but I think their defense is so fucking good. They have shown that they can work around that when the three-pointers don't fall. What if Cason Wallace gets better? What if A.J. Mitchell actually becomes an effective rotation player? You see what I mean? There's so many ways this Thunder team can get better. They could also make a trade. They have draft picks. Maybe some of those draft picks aren't as valuable as we once thought they were, but they have fucking ammo everywhere. They can maneuver the second apron era pretty well for the next few seasons. This Thunder team is not only deep, long, versatile, they're the defending champs, and we all know when a core wins that first championship, you come into the next season with a little bit more championship swagger. I know stats can't account for that, but you think of, the Miami Heat with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh after they won their first title against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then in the next season, they won, what was it? They had won 26 or 27 straight games. LeBron James had the most insane 2-week stretch of basketball that may have been ever played, with the multiple straight games of shooting 60% from the field. Probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, LeBron James was fucking incredible. The Heat took a jump. Remember when the Warriors won the title earlier than expected, and then they came into the 2015-16 season? We all know how that went. Obviously, they didn't win the championship, but we all know how they started that season and fucking rolled through the league. We could see that with the Thunder. And there are multiple ways we could actually legitimately see that jump. And at the end of the day, they have the MVP. So I have the Thunder here at the top spot. Obviously, as the season goes, things could change. But as far as I see it, I actually... I'm going to do the Sly Hooper curse again. Sorry, Thunder fans. I'm picking y'all to repeat. The last 4 seasons, I have failed to correctly predict a repeat champion. But if the Thunder don't win it all, you can attribute it to the Sly Hooper curse.